Hello, folks. Thank you for coming back and welcome. If you're here for the first time, I'm Dr. David Burns. This is Adam Holman, my colleague and associate, and Sevda, our this highly esteemed member of our team, helping us with marketing of our Feeling Great app and with helping us with our thinking as well. And this is the second of the 5 secrets of effective communication, which is called thought and feeling empathy. And it sounds really simple, and it's not. And it sounds really unimportant, and it's massively important. And what is thought empathy? What is feeling empathy? And this is for therapists and for the general public. And accurate empathy has 3 pieces, really. Everyone talks about empathy. No one tells you what it is. No one measures it. And most of what's said about it is a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, I would have thought, before I learned some of these skills that empathy is either something you have or you don't have. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
thought of it as a skill or something you could practice and
Oh,
develop.
yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. It's something you can learn. And people who think they're really great at it generally are not. I gave a workshop up in Canada, and I was going to, it was at some big conference on some school of therapy, and I was invited to do a half-day workshop on empathy. And I was going to teach, like the techniques we've been demonstrating: someone attack and someone respond. And before the program started, this woman came, and it was just a small workshop with maybe a dozen people. So sit in a circle, and I was going to show empathy training techniques to them. And this woman came up to me and said that she was going to be in my workshop, and that she could help me teach empathy, because she said that she was one of the world's greatest experts on empathy, and had written and published many textbooks on empathy and effective listening. And she had a little bit of a "I'm hot stuff" feel about her. And I said, "Oh, okay, if you want to volunteer for one of the demos, but I have to warn you, they're pretty difficult."
Mhm.
And she said, "Oh, that'll be perfect for me. I'll show them all, how it's done." And I said, "Boy, I don't know if this is going to be a good idea for her." But at any rate, after the workshop, I went through the 5 secrets and what they are, and I said the only way to learn them is in actual exercises. And so I'd like one of you to volunteer to be the therapist and one to be the difficult patient. And the difficult patient will attack the therapist critically. And then the therapist, I want you to respond using the 5 secrets of effective communication. And I do this all the time in workshops, and therapists have a terrible time with it. And part of it is to demonstrate to you that you don't know what you're doing, to get a little humility. And there's a lot to learn, and you can learn, but you don't know it yet. But at any rate, I asked her, "Are you ready?" And yes, as therapist, she said she was ready, and asked the patient, Are you ready?" And so then the therapist, the patient attacked her, like maybe after a therapy session, you've gotten your feedback form, you've gotten bad grade from the patient you ask, and then the patient said something to her like, I really want to tell you is I thought that the therapy session really sucked.
Oh.
And I think you suck because you seem kind of big on yourself, and I don't feel like you actually understand me or how I'm feeling. That's a good typical one, and then you can use the 5 secrets. And she responded horribly, defensively, and explained to the patient she's an expert and she knows all about empathy, and then asked the patient to give her a grade. And here's what I liked and here's what I didn't like. The patient gave her an F,
Oh.
and then she got super pissed off. And then I asked, "Would you try the people in the group here, see how they graded you?" And then they all gave her like C minus, D, F, and it was really kind of a shock for her. And I don't know if it was helpful or not, but her interpersonal skills were were very poor because all she'd done is write textbooks and think about how great she was and go on all these head trips. But the question is, can you respond under the fire of criticism? And thought empathy and feeling empathy are some skills that seem very simple. But thought empathy means you understand how the patient is thinking. And so you repeat the patient's words using pretty much what the patient said. And then feeling empathy is given what the patient said. Like the patient said, I feel really hopeless. I feel like life is not worth living. Or it could be your teenager who's angry and said, I was up late last night trying to help a friend and I didn't get to finish my homework and the teacher docked me 10 points on my essay because I turned it in late and it's unfair and the teacher's bullshit and things like that. And then as a parent, how would you respond using the 5 secrets of effective communication? But the first thing is understand what the person said, and secondly, understand how they're feeling given what they said. Like to that teenager, you might say, it sounds like you're feeling really frustrated and angry and hurt, and what the teacher did feels unfair, and I know how important school is to you. And tell me more about this and how you're feeling and what's been going on. In other words, to open up, you're saying the teacher docked you 10 points and that seemed unfair because you were up late last night helping a friend. And I know how much you love your friends and that you're just kind of feeling really disillusioned and pissed off right now. And did I get that right? And so that would be thought and feeling empathy to show the person that you understood their words and that you can acknowledge their feelings. Now, 100% of you say, oh, I can do that. Those of you who think you can do it, you may be in for a shock that it's very, very difficult to learn for a number of reasons. In the first place, a lot of us get preoccupied with how we're going to respond and try to respond in some correct or impressive way or tell the person what they should be doing or whatever. And in the second place, it's very difficult for us to acknowledge the other person's feelings. And one feeling that's especially hard is anger. And I often say that no therapist in the United States has ever once acknowledged a patient's anger and never will be able to acknowledge anger. And I say that in a very extremist way and say in the role play that we're about to do, you're not going to be able to acknowledge anger either. But try hard. See if you can be the first person. I've done over 1,000 role plays and workshops, and no one has yet acknowledged the anger of an obviously angry patient. And the therapist can never do it. But we'll demonstrate this exercise. And I know you can do it, Adam. But the most extreme case of this is I had a therapist I was training at Stanford. But this is for the general public. This isn't just for shrinks, but I have a lot of shrink examples. It's exactly the same at home, the same issues. But I had a therapist who was very high-powered. And she'd published many papers, and she had a family. She was one of the so-called beautiful people. Mm. And I felt a bit intimidated around her. But I discovered that she couldn't do thought or feeling empathy. Even in a role play, if I would say, gosh, you haven't been helping me, and then ask her to repeat those words from the patient, that would be thought empathy. She couldn't repeat the words.
Oh, what would she say?
Well, she would just start crying and get upset. And then she confessed that her father had been a violent alcoholic and that she was exposed to a lot of violence growing up. And that whenever she heard a criticism, she freaked out. And that was really getting in the way of being able to even do a simple exercise, paraphrasing the patient's words, paraphrasing the patient's feelings. And we had to break it down and to ask her, first, I'll be your patient, and I'll say, you haven't been helping me. And then I want you to just don't say anything, just write that down on a piece of paper. And then once you've written it down, I want you to read it to me. And she could do that. And we had to start out at that level. but even that was incredibly threatening to her because she was afraid of anger, afraid of emotions. But she worked at it and worked at it, and bless her heart. And then she stayed on the Stanford faculty and became one of the most highly respected therapists at Stanford. But she really had to work to learn the five secrets, just as I did. What I had trouble with was the disarming technique. I couldn't understand how you could find truth in criticisms. And my automatic response growing up was to argue. One of my patients once said, "You should have been an attorney, not a psychiatrist," because you can argue with anything. So it was really a huge change for me. But let's demonstrate thought and feeling, empathy, and then point out some of the common errors you're going to make when you try to do this with your son or daughter or spouse or mother or neighbor or whatever. Okay, so I'm dad and you're my son, and this is something you sometimes heard from your father, and you can respond with any of the five secrets, but you want to make sure you have thought and feeling empathy. And then after we do this demo, I'll show a really neat abbreviated exercise where you can really zero in just on thought empathy and just on feeling empathy. But I'm dad and your son, and you've been really kind of lazy lately, and I get tired of having to tell you to help out around the house.
You know what, Dad, you're right. I am embarrassed to admit it, but I have been very lazy, and you've been asking me over and over and over again to help around the house. And I'd imagine you might also be thinking that I don't appreciate you and everything that you've taught me and everything that you've given me as you've tried to motivate me. And I'd also imagine that you might feel quite angry at me knowing that you've been trying so hard to give me so much and I haven't been taking it and using it wisely. And I'd imagine you also feel kind of disappointed and upset, and also maybe even a little bit worried that I'm not going to be the successful person that you want me to be. And I just want you to know that I feel very sad about that and a little disappointed too, because I can see how right you are. I really haven't been trying as hard as I could, and I haven't been trying as hard as you do, Dad. And you've been such a good model to that for me. And I just love you so much, and it breaks my heart to know that I've disappointed you. Can you tell me more about that and whether or not I'm understanding you, and especially how angry you've been feeling?
Okay, what grade do you give yourself on that?
I think I'd give myself an A, actually.
What? Well, I can't ask you, Sefta, because you don't have a microphone. What grade do you think I'll give it?
I don't know. Tell me.
I'll give it a B plus. Do you have any idea why?
I'm not sure.
Well, it was a perfect example of the five secrets. So that was all A plus. There's two dimensions to this. One is how Dad is feeling, and the other is the reality of the situation. And you didn't attend to any of the things that you haven't been doing with a plan to begin doing them.
Right. So I haven't asked or even gone back to think about the things that I haven't done and talk about my plan to go forward and actually do those things and address the things that he's upset about.
Yeah.
Almost like I'm just kind of placating him.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I can see that.
Beautiful. You want to try it again? Or you want to do a role reversal?
Let's do a role reversal.
Oh, okay. And what is one of the things that I'm supposed to do that I haven't been doing?
Mow the lawn.
Okay. And that's something you actually had to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Do you have a power mower or a hand mower?
Hand mower.
Oh, no. I had to do that when I was growing up, too. I know how awful that is. So I'm Adam now, and you're Dad?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Son, you're just so lazy. You never help out around the house no matter how many times we ask you.
I feel really hurt and sad to hear what you're saying because, I love you tremendously, and I haven't been helping out. I know you asked me to mow the lawn, and I can imagine how angry you feel, and you've done so much for me. And I'm actually going to start it, getting out and start pushing that mower, which I hate, but I know how important it is not only to get the lawn mowed, but to show you my love and my willingness to to help out. But tell me if I'm reading you right and if I'm getting it right, and if this is an okay time for me to run outside and pick up that mower and get to mowing.
All right. What grade would you give yourself there?
An A. Let's do a role reversal then. I've been asking you to mow the lawn for a week and you haven't. And you're just lazy and you don't seem to do your part around the house.
You know what, you're right, Dad. I have been really lazy and I haven't been doing my part. And you've asked me over and over and over again to mow the lawn, and here I am sitting inside all day playing video games. And I'd imagine that makes you very angry and upset and hurt. And I feel embarrassed because you have asked me so many times, and I've just been letting that slip. And so I'm realizing that what I need to do right after we're done talking here, Dad, is go outside and start mowing the lawn immediately so that I don't forget. And I just have so much respect for you. You've been such a good model to me about what it means to work hard. And I'd imagine it's just been very disappointing to see me not do this. And I care about you so much that I want to make sure that I'm understanding you first before I head outside and get that done. And Dad, can you let me know if I'm understanding what you're thinking and feeling?
Yeah, I'd have to give that an A. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, and this is such an important point, right? We practice these skills almost every day, David and I, and it still takes practice for us and quite a few back and forth. And so we've developed some tools to help you guys practice just as we do, and you can find that at the Feeling Great app. You might be wondering what the Feeling Great app is. Hi, I'm Adam. I'm a licensed therapist and one of the designers of the Feeling Great app. And the Feeling Great app is an AI chat tool that's meant to not just help you feel a little bit better, not just help you find relief, but truly feel great. And the methods in the app are developed by the legendary David Burns. And in a very structured and routine way, they're meant to walk you through the exact process that David uses to help his clients feel better. And to our surprise, the app has been incredibly effective. You might wonder, have people gotten 20% better, 30% better, 40% better? No. Believe it or not, in one single 1.5 hour chat session, people have actually seen a 70% improvement on average in their negative mood. So if you'd like to feel great, and gosh, would we ever love that to you, download our app in the App Store today.
Yeah, and I'm going to just show you a real great way to learn thought empathy and feeling empathy, and we're going to do thought empathy first. And what it is I'm going to attack Adam with one sentence at a time. And you can only respond with thought empathy.
Oof.
That just, and then we'll repeat it maybe with a role reversal, only responding with feeling empathy. And this is to help you concentrate on really repeating what a person has said to you. You're lazy, and I've been asking you for over a week to mow the lawn, and you still haven't done it.
It sounds like what you're wanting to let me know is that I'm being really lazy. You've been asking me over and over again to mow the lawn, and I'm not doing it. Am I understanding you correctly?
That would be perfect thought empathy. Now you can only respond with feeling empathy. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
I hate you.
I'd imagine you're feeling very angry, upset, and disappointed in me, as well as feeling quite hurt by the way that I've been treating you. Am I understanding you?
That was a good B+, but there was one word that I used that you overlooked.
Hate.
Yeah. You want to try it again or do a role reversal?
Let's role reversal.
Okay.
David, I hate you.
Well, it sounds like I've really hurt your feelings and angered you, and you're just feeling hatred for me right now. Am I getting it right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And so this is a simple exercise, and you might say, oh, that's like kindergarten level. I wouldn't need to do that. You wouldn't need to do it unless you want to learn the 5 secrets of effective communication. And this is the way to learn thought and feeling empathy. And there are only, one set of techniques out of 5. And if you just respond with one technique, you'll sound like a parrot, and it won't be effective. But if you learn them one at a time, then you can learn to combine them into a beautiful response that will lead to a dramatic change in the way you relate to people. But it takes a lot of work, and it won't be worth that work unless you're really hurting and really wanting to have a radically different way to relate to other people.
Yeah, and it may seem silly that I missed the one feeling that David spoke to me there, but it's genuine. We do make that mistake, and if there's one last bit that I throw into this is that the purpose of this is not to get it perfectly. In fact, sometimes when you are misguided and you get it wrong, and you notice the person that is upset, you have exactly the information that you need to understand them better. And so, if there's any last piece of advice I'd give people, it's to jump right in and let yourself make mistakes, and that's sort of the next step to learning more about what people are thinking and feeling and becoming closer and closer to them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for watching. Tune in again. We've got tons more for you, and we love you all. Have a good one.